Rutherford.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Mhm. How are you?
All right, all right. Give everybody maybe a minute or two to log in case there are others. Let's see. So we have reached the Sunday before the start of Passover, and it's a time of a lot of hustle and bustle for many people, especially if they're going to be hosting a Seder. Even if they're not hosting a Seder, sometimes preparing one's kitchen for Passover, perhaps getting everything all set just to be able to eat appropriately for the holiday is a cause of a lot of busyness. So I'm appreciative of those who are joining right now. And I do want to start by noting something. I'm going to put in something in the chat here, and I can also put this on the Seder live. I can also put this in the YouTube live stream once the video goes live, which is that I decided to do a Seder over Zoom on the first night of Passover. Let me be, and let me see. So let's see, what am I doing here? Okay. So I just put that in the chat, the link for that, in case any of you are interested. So I want to explain my thinking. We do have a congregational Seder on the second night of Passover on Thursday, April 2nd. That's going to start. We're inviting people for 4:30 p.m. We're gonna actually start at 5 p.m. on the dot. The night before, April 1st, is the night of the first Seder, and I I'm gonna have that with my I'm gonna have a first Seder with my kids that night, or that sort of late afternoon, early evening. It's a school day for them, so I can't really do it too late. But once I have finished that, I'm going to do a Seder over Zoom for anybody who might want an online community for that night. I can't start it until after I'm done with my kids, so I'm starting it at 8:30 p.m. So I recognize that might not be, the perfect time for everybody. I figure I'll take about an hour um, to do it, and we'll skip over the time that it would take to eat the meal. But if there's anybody looking for a just some sort of Seder experience online, if you already have plans for a Seder that night, please do those plans. Please still be with people in person if you can. I'm certainly encouraging that. But if you want something, or if you know somebody who wants some sort of Seder experience online, I'm going to be providing that. So that is this Wednesday, April 1st, starting at 8:30 p.m. And so the link I just put into the chat. Um, so just wanted to let you know that it's something else that I'm going to be offering. Um, what I wanted to do today is to kind of go through a little more detail on some of the um, Seder songs, and some of the tips about how one would uh, do some of the other activities found inside inside the Seder service. I know that last week we talked about the order of the Seder, and the things that you need for it. But now we're going to be talking about some of the things in the Haggadah, some of the songs and readings and things like that that people usually enjoy. Some of you may be very familiar with these, and some of you it might be new, or it may be a different spin on what you already do. So I leave it there as I leave it here as sort of a another way to approach it. So um, as for the text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. I won't be able to see anybody's faces while I'm sharing the screen. So if when and if you have questions, just jump in. So I'm going to share my screen, and what I'm going to be sharing here is a Haggadah that I've created, and actually, I'm probably going to use that. Um, this I'm going to use at Zoom Seder. So the two parts of the Seder that I'm really going to focus on here are going to be Magid, which is uh, the sort of the heart of the Seder. It's where we actually tell the story and make references to the story. And then I'll probably get to a handful of the songs at the end in Nir Tzah at the end of the Seder because people like to end sort of in a rousing way. So one typically begins the Magid section by uh, referring to what's known as halachma anya. Halachma is this is a statement saying that, as you see below, this is the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. And I think I mentioned that idea last time that that's one of these paramount ideas. We do our best to accommodate anybody who wants to have a Seder experience and who is interested in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing some of the melodies that I know for it, and you everything here should be both Hebrew and transliteration and uh, translated as well. So hopefully you will be able to follow regardless of how you choose to do it. So the way I do halachma is halachma, halachma anya achalu, achalu avhatana, be'ara demitzraim, be'ara demitzraim, kol dichfin yete vechol, kol ditzrich yete ve'yisach, Hashata Lishana Haba Be'arade Yisrael Hashata Avde Lishana Haba B'nei Chorin. So that's usually how the Magid section begins, and some people actually they uncover their plate of matzah and hold it up while singing this. So a lot of people begin the Magid in this way. It's essentially kind of an invitation to take part in the Seder, which might feel a little strange because you're already there, but it's sort of the formal invitation, if you will. So that's the halachma. Now, what we get to next is what's known as the manishtana. The manishtana is known as the four questions. Um, it's kind of a misnomer because essentially it's one question with four parts. It's not really four separate questions because the main question that's being asked is what you see at the beginning. Manishtana halayla hazeh mikol halaylot. Why is this night of Passover different from all other nights of the year? And it is one of those parts that is really meant for children. There is a custom that the youngest person at the Seder sings the Manish Tana. And in many cases, the Manish Tana is what people is the first Seder song that a young person learns. Um, Now, you don't have to be a little kid to do the Manish Tana, of course, but others may, but others certainly may join. But you'll be able to tell with the melody for it that it's one of those melodies that's meant to be child friendly. I'll put it that way. And so, and the questions are, and the four parts of the question, if you will, are meant to indicate curiosity. You can imagine a young child looking at a Seder table and looking at a Seder in general and saying, all right, what in the world is going on? The first question being, on all other nights, we have all different kinds of bread. Why is it only matzah tonight? The next question that's asked is, usually we have different kinds of vegetables. Why do we have to have bitter herbs on this night? The next one that's asked is, on all other nights, we don't usually dip our vegetables. Why are we dipping our vegetables in both salt water and then bitter herbs and haroset? Why are we doing two different dips of our vegetables? Honestly, these days, I don't know whether that's a question that jumps to the mind of many young people these days, but this is one that's included. And then you have the last of those questions is, on all the other nights, people sit up at the table. Why is there a custom that we recline? So those are the four questions, or the four parts to the one question, and I will now sing the melody. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot mikol halelot, shebechol halelot, anu ochlin chametz umatzah, chametz umatzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah, shebechol halelot, Anu ochlin she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot, halayla hazeh, maror, maror, halayla hazeh, maror, maror. Shebechol halelot ein anu matbilin afilu pa'am echat. Afilu pa'am echat, halayla hazeh, shetei fe'amim, halayla hazeh, shetei fe'amim, shebechol halelot, anu ochlin ben yoshvinu vein mesubin, ben yoshvinu vein mesubin, halayla hazeh, kulanu mesubin. Halayla hazeh, kulanu mesubin. So those are the four questions. Um, this is I think, a proper time to say, does anybody have any questions yet of what I've been doing? All right, no worries. So,
Oh,
um,
one thing is that
yeah.
probably over 40 years there have been several copies of the Maxwell House Coffee uh, Passover Seder or
Mhm.
whatever book, whatever, which I've I highlighted it down for the parts for myself, my wife, and my sons.
Mhm.
And I always felt a little yellow. Well, I'm not doing all these things, but you shortened it as much as I did just with the highlighter. 'Cause I wanted the story told in an important part, but not 2 hours before you could eat, which seemed like if you went all the way through the book, it'd be like 2 hours before you could eat.
Sure, sure. And so what you're going to see in this is, I mean, like again, this is a this is I could say that this is the Haggadah that I organized, that I created. Well, I mean, I didn't, I don't get much credit. I shouldn't get much credit for it. Essentially, it's um, I hit a lot of the highlights of it, and I'll show in a couple moments, Will, that like I I try to summarize the Passover story in a number of readings in a way that uh, like the Maxwell House Haggadah has everything in a typical Haggadah. So I do a somewhat abridged version of telling the story.
Well, I appreciate you made it legal. So it felt like I
Well,
was
thanks.
cheating.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So this is all right. So the next song that's pretty popular is it's called Avadim Hayinu. And it's essentially meant to begin the answer of the four questions. And essentially, it's this quick song that pretty much gives it's a one sentence answer to why we're doing this. We do go in greater detail as we go along, but it's meant to kind of give a fairly straightforward answer to this. And it goes, Avadim hayinu hayinu lefaro b'mitzrayim Avadim hayinu ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin. Now that's an example of something in which this is actually the beginning of a whole paragraph. For these purposes, I cut out the paragraph and I just do the one line. For better or for worse, I just think that um, it gives the overall sentiment. Now, what I try to do, as you can see, is like I do summarize certain parts of the Passover Seder, and I usually do that mainly in English. One thing I include here is the four children. Oftentimes, this would be described as the four sons, but I try to keep it. Obviously, I try to keep it gender neutral whenever I can. But the four children, and it essentially says that there are four different ways that children approach the Seder. And they say that really that they can be sort of personified into four different children. You have the wise child. Um, I don't know how much that this child is necessarily wise, but they're certainly curious and studious. You have the child known as the wicked child, which I don't. I think he kind of gets a bad rap because what he says is, what's the point of all this? Is essentially what he says, and it tells you how to approach these different children. You give a different answer to all of them. Then you have the what does a simple child say, and then how do you approach a child who doesn't know how to ask? So those are, so it's in other words, you have four different kinds of children, or the way I like to put it, four different kinds of approaches to it. So there are many Seders where we go over that. Like I said, I have some readings here of, that I've put onto these slides. Um, And so again, I encourage you in your seders um, to read through different things and to also ask, and to make things a conversation more than anything else. Um, you can do it the way the Haggadah does it. You can also ask your own questions. Um, and so, one thing that does happen is at a certain point we get to the reading of the 10 plagues, and I want to make sure that you are aware of this ritual. The ritual of the 10 plagues is to say the name of each plague. And you see the instruction here to dip your finger into your wine at the mention of each plague and place a drop of wine on your napkin or your plate, but don't lick your finger afterward. The idea is that um, the 10 plagues were, punishments that all of Egypt had to endure. They are not plagues that we try to celebrate. Um, we are not supposed to revel in the suffering of the Egyptians, and so we mention it because it is an important part of the story, but we should be very cognizant that this is not meant to be something that we are should overly celebrate. Um, so the custom is we let out a little bit of our wine, we let out a little bit of our joy when mentioning the plagues. Um, it leads me to a particular pet peeve that I have. This is not a pet peeve that many people share. Um, you will find different products or different projects where, in order to, and the idea is that in order to keep the kids interested, they will make little puppets out of the plagues, or they will have a little plague bag in which they have little toys that are meant to represent the plagues. And I understand that, a big part of the Seder is you're trying to keep kids involved and interested, etc. Um, I don't, I really don't like it. I don't like the idea of having a plague bag. I don't think that it's really great to have uh, that kind of irreverence when it comes to this specific thing. I think there are many ways in which we can be irreverent and have lots of fun. And maybe we'll have time to talk about some irreverent songs that we could add. But I think for this is not the time to do that. So we get to, I would say, the Manishtana is probably the most famous song of the Seder. This was probably the other, which is Dayenu. Dayenu means it would have been enough. And this is when we are, um, celebrating the mentions of our liberation. And the idea behind this song is that, God, if you had just brought us out of Egypt, it would have been enough. But then if you had just done all that plus given us the next thing, that would have been enough. If you had done all those things and then added another thing, all that would have been enough. But yet you kept on adding. You keep on bringing blessing. The song Dayenu has a bunch of verses in it. It's got like, I don't know, close to 20 verses. Um, the most popular are these 3 verses. So and what is most familiar with it is the chorus, which is simply singing Dayenu, the word Dayenu. So I will sing the a popular way of doing it. Ilu hotzi anu mi mitzrayim dayenu, and then the chorus dayenu 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 dayenu. Ilu Natan lanu eta Shabbat, Natan lanu eta Shabbat, dayenu, 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 etc. Okay, and then we do the next one. Ilu Natan lanu eta Torah, Natan lanu eta Torah, dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. Dayenu. You get the idea. And it's not redundant at all, right? um, but it's fun. I have to say that when I was in college, I may have mentioned that I every year in college I had a tradition where I would make a Seder for my friends. I would do one Seder for my friends every year, and most of those friends who would come to my Seder were not Jewish. And and it was a very lively time. It was lots of fun, and but I remember the first time I did it, and a couple of my friends, like when we got to Dayenu and I got to the chorus of Dayenu, they were like, "Okay, we can follow this." Like we can sing Dayenu a bunch of times in a row. Um, This is actually this is actually something I didn't put in my initial Haggadah, but it's this is a song that we sing for Miriam. And it's maybe a little more of a modern tune. But maybe we can sing this. Miriam HaNeviah, Oz v'Zimra beyada, Miriam tirkod itanu, lehagdil Zimra tolam, Miriam tirkod itanu, litaken et haolam, bimheram veyamenu, He tivienu el me Yeshua. So it's a way to include Miriam and a way to include a feminine character in the course of our Seder. So those are some songs that we do before the meal, and so what I want to do now is to go to some of what's after the meal, um, not worrying so much about Birkat Hamazon, but the grace after meals, but there is a custom after we've eaten the meal to open the door for Elijah. I think I mentioned last time the Kos Eliyahu, the cup of Elijah, that is placed on our table because we um, have the idea that Elijah the prophet will herald the coming of the Messiah. Um, by herald meaning he'll announce the coming of the Messiah. I'm not saying that the name of the Messiah is going to be Herald. That name of the Messiah is to be determined. But the idea is that we hope that he will come to our Seder to announce the coming of the Messiah. So the idea is that if the Messiah is about to come, Elijah will come to every single Seder being celebrated. Um, I have to admit that custom, that belief does have some sort of like Santa Claus type vibes to it. The idea that he's going to visit every house. And yes, just like we would leave milk and cookies for Santa, we leave wine for Elijah. Um, it's kind of a curious idea, but such as it is. The idea is that and this is a way to include kids, we have the kids open the door to our home from our homes, and we sing for Elijah. And it's actually the same tune that I just did. So the tune is Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera Beyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David. So, another thing that we can do is near the end, we do what's known as the Adir Hu. And this is an acrostic poem, praising God. There's not it's pretty straightforward. The melody for Adir Hu is probably is actually my favorite melody from the Seder. So I'll sing the beginning of it. Adir hu, Yivne veto bekarov, bimhera, beyamenu bekarov, bnei vedcha bekarov. And then, you go to the next verses, Bachur hu, gadol hu, dagul hu, Yivne beto bekarov, and you basically go back to the chorus. It's just I just like the tune. So now when we get to this, and keep in mind we are near the end of the Seder when we get to these songs, but for a lot of people, this is kind of their favorite point of the Seder, these particular songs. We have another song that goes "Who Knows One," and it goes from the numbers 1 through 13, and each one refers um, uh, to a different number of things. So, for instance, 1 is God. There is one God. 2 refers to the tablets of Moses, the tablets from the Ten Commandments, right? 3 refers to the 3 patriarchs, 4 the matriarchs, etc. Now there are a couple of ways of doing this. One is to do it in Hebrew, and it goes like this. Echad mi yodea, Echad ani yodea, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba Shamayim Uva'aretz. And the idea is that as you keep going, you add the next one, but then, you review what you've already done. Shnayim yodea, Shnayim ani yodea, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba shamayim uva'aretz. And then it goes all the way till we get to the number 13. Now, the number 13, I think I wrote the whole thing out for 13. So I'm going to I'll sing you all of 13. Shlosha asar mi yodea, Shlosha asar ani yodea, Shlosha asar midaya, Shneim asar shivtaya, Achad asar kochvaya, Asara dibraya, Tisha yerche leda, Shmona yemei mila, Shiva yemei shavata, Shisha sidrei mishna, Chamisha chumshei Torah, Arba imahod, Shlosha avod, Shnei luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, 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 Sheba shamayim uva'aretz. There are customs where people at some tables will sing that last one. They'll try to do it all in one breath. I'm not saying that you should. It's just a custom some people like to do. There are others who do this in English. I don't want to give away the way that I do it in English because I'm going to do it the congregational Seder, and I'm also going to do it at the Zoom Seder. So, but you can also do this in English. Now, we get to this last one, and this last one, it's pretty goofy. It's called Chad Gadya, which literally means one little goat. By goat, we're actually talking about the animal. We're not referring to the word goat that is an acronym for greatest of all time. We're actually referring to a little goat. And basically, it's this story that a father bought a goat for the family farm, I guess, for the low price of two zuzim. Zuzim refers to a monetary value from Jewish communities from hundreds of years ago. I don't know why it's still two zuzim. I would think that inflation has taken hold. It would have been a lot more, but we still sing two zuzim. And then what happens is this song is kind of like This Is the House that Jack Built. It builds on another, right? So then the next verse is that a cat comes and then eats the goat. Now, I've never met a cat that can eat an entire goat or would want to eat an entire goat, but cats can be puzzling that way. I don't know. And then what happens that then a dog comes and bites the cats that ate the goat, that etc. Then a stick comes, presumably somebody comes with a stick, and then hits the dog that had bit the cats that ate the goat. You get where I'm going here. Then a fire burns the stick, and then water comes and extinguishes the fire. And then an ox comes and drinks the water. And then a slaughterer comes and kills the ox. And then the angel of death comes and um, kills the slaughterer. And then finally, God shows up and kills the angel of death. So apparently, all of this is meant to build up to God's supremacy. Um, and here's the idea is to sing it, and the way I sing it is, I mean, you could do it just in the Aramaic. You could go Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya, Dezavi Nava Bitre Zuze, Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya. What I usually do is I usually go Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya, that my father bought for two zuzim, Chad Gad Ya, Chad Gad Ya. So I do the verses in English. But the way to make it really fun and silly, and especially if one has had a little bit of wine, this can get really silly and funny, which is essentially to when you get to each verse, have different people make the noises of the animal or the item that is being uh described, right? So, a cat, goes meow, and the goat goes meh, right? And the dog goes, woof woof. But then you get to some, creative ones, a stick, goes, like you bang the table. The fire goes, crackle, crackle, or whatever it is. And then the water is, splish, splash. You get to the ox, you can go moo. You get to the slaughterer, and you can do some sort of symbol for slaughtering something. I don't know. There are different ways of doing it. And when you get to God, you can just go, "Yay!" Um, that's that's a way that people do it. And it can be it's not meant to be a religious song per se. But by the way, there is on YouTube a tremendous video of the comedian Jack Black um, being interviewed for some talk show, and Jack Black was Jewish, is born Jewish, raised Jewish. Um, I don't think he's a practicing Jew, but he certainly remembers certain things from religious school and from the home growing up, and he actually at one point sang Chad Gadya for like parts of Chad Gadya for this talk show, and it's just kind of cool to see Jack Black doing Chad Gadya. The way that you typically end a Seder is to, with the wish of next year in Jerusalem, hopefully a peaceful Jerusalem. And I like to sing it. So I go, Lashana haba, Lashana haba, Lashana haba, Birushalayim, Lashana haba, Lashana haba, Shana haba, Birushalayim. So we usually sing that at the end. So those are some of the things that we do in sing in a Passover Seder. Now, I've stopped the sharing here because what I want to do is before we go, I want to do um, to throw in a couple of other like parody songs that you can add to what you have in the Haggadah. But I do want to see if anybody has any questions of what I've done.
I just have one question, Rabbi. How do you think that the three verses that are so well known for Dayenu became universal? Because I'm way older than you are, and we always only did those three verses.
Yeah, I think it's because I mean you hit on because like I think those verses are like three big main uh, topics of Judaism, right? I mean, you have leaving Egypt, you have Shabbat, you have Torah. I think those are three main ones, and then but there are other verses that are like, had God taken us out, but not given us, manna from heaven, right? Manna, and not taking anything away from manna from, but in terms of like the long lasting impact that manna has on Jewish life, I mean, it's not huge, right? So, but you're talking about sort of three main ideas or institutions of Judaism. I think those kind of rose to the top, if you will, from those three. I don't have anything more sophisticated than that, but that's kind of my guess is something like along those lines. Any other questions at the moment? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'll just sort of pull up Google, and what I want to do here is eh, well, if I can spell, um, Passover parody songs. There are a bunch of really fun ones, and they keep on coming out with new ones. So, all right, so here's one. Um, oh, I guess they have like I guess they have music, but I mean they have a whole like a whole song index. Okay, so let's see what. All right, let's do. I'm a Beatles person, so let's see. So it leads you to a Google Drive, and you've got a bunch of different things. So this is a Passover parody to the tune of 8 Days a Week. Oh, I need my bread, babe. Guess you know it's true. How long must I wait, babe? What's your point of view? Bagels, challah, bagels, challah. I ain't got nothing but matzah. 8 days a week. Some Jews say it's 7. Some Jews say it's 8. Just how long is Pesach? How long must I wait? Bagels, challah, bagels, challah. I ain't got nothing but matzah. 8 days a week. And you get that idea, right? Let's see. What else do we have? Um, oh, okay. We have, I mean, some of these are kind of old standards. Some of them are it's pretty recent. I mean, there's a Taylor Swift song here. There's a bunch of things. Okay, all right, let's do. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm actually not good at singing Sweet Caroline. Adonai said, "I will never forget." Okay, I can't do the. Okay, so I'll do the chorus. Hands pouring wine, reaching out, red for me, white for you, sweet kosher wine. Whoa, oh, oh, you make Seder seem so good, so good, so good, so good. We all recline. Whoa, oh, oh. And we drink you like we should. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have done that one. I'm sorry. But some people like that. Some people like Sweet Caroline. So there's a whole, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. You see, and I mean, and this is far from, I mean, there's a bunch of, I mean, I mean, now they have, and I don't think I'd be able to share YouTube here very well, but like I mean, there are videos like somebody's done like a Billy Joel Passover, sing us a song for the Seder man, sing us a song tonight, etc. I mean, it it just it just goes on and on and on. And I've been at Seders in which people they print out the ones that they like the most. They print out their favorite song parodies and just have a good time with it. So there are okay, and all right. So Jason, you've thrown in. Was that the Billy Joel one, or is it a different one? Sorry, you're muted.
It's a Red Sea shanty. It's like to the tune of Gilligan's Island. It's a video. It's pretty funny.
Sure, yeah, no, I mean, like look, we live at a time where the ability to come up with parodies is almost infinite. We have so many of them, and it's lovely to be able to do that. So that's one way to enliven a Seder, I think. Another way to enliven a Seder is, and it depends on who you have at your Seder. It's a big, um, it's really variable on who you have, and I think it makes sense to do some things um, based on who you're going to have around. Like if you're going to have a lot of kids at your Seder, okay, so maybe there are some ways where you make things, very little kid friendly. If you're gonna not necessarily, all right, there's a Monty Python Seder on our website. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, there's a Hamilton Seder. There's a whole bunch of different. I mean, I actually have another Haggadah I have is there's a baseball Haggadah, right? And it's like, how there are like 15 different parts in the order of the Seder they do. It's like they do 15 innings. They'll come up with so many different ways of doing it. And but if you're going to have a more adult Seder, then maybe what you want to do is you want to think about different uh, discussion topics to talk about at the table. So anyway, so the basic idea I want to convey is don't be afraid to think outside the book. We have the book. The book has got a lot of good stuff, but don't be afraid to make that your starting point and not your ultimate endpoint. So we got about we have up to 10 minutes left. I know I've three different sessions to pass over. And by the way, next week when we do this, um, next week I will be in Knoxville. So if you want to come to the synagogue, you're welcome to come on down. But I'll of course have it on Zoom like normal. Um, and next week we'll be talking the about other spring holidays because we haven't talked um, about Holocaust Remembrance Day, Israel Independence Day, and then we'll talk also about the holiday of Shavuot, the idea of counting the Omer, etc. So that's what we'll be doing, a little sort of spring holidays, if you will, next week. Um, but I've devoted three different sessions to Passover because there's a lot to talk about, and so anything from any of this that you want to jump in and ask about?
I thought it was interesting the way I don't know. I guess it's more fun for kids. I mean, I've been doing it kind of much, a shortened, highlighted version of the Maxwell House Coffee House. But I guess if I'd known other ways like to do this, it'd probably be a lot more fun for my sons when they were young than the way I was doing it. I only knew one way to do it, but you're showing a lot of other ways to do it because it's always been like I always had Thanksgiving growing up, and we still keep Thanksgiving as a family holiday. And like Passover is our Jewish family holiday. So it's like I've always done it kind of a serious way. I didn't really think about that you could do it like the fun way you were talking about. My sons would have probably appreciated it a whole much more.
I hear you. I hear you. And it's the idea is that it's a great opportunity to give people positive Jewish memories, and to especially since uh, I think what I said last week or maybe the week before, that when you think of the um, most commonly um, performed Jewish rituals over the course of a year, um, Jews who might not otherwise do a bunch of different things, the most common things that they will do will be light Hanukkah candles and participate in a Passover Seder of one sort or another. And I think that is so I feel like if and we have a lot of ways to make Hanukkah fun, you know, so I think it behooves us um, to make Passover, enjoyable in one way or another. And luckily there are so many creative minds out there who uh, who really do a banged up job of that. So I really I sit on their shoulders, if you will. From many creative minds who have done some of the hard work beforehand.
It's not just the creative minds, it's the acceptance that it's okay to celebrate in a more fun, joyous way. When I was growing up, it was fun. It was a hoot because we had multiple generations, people drinking wine, yelling, teasing each other. But this brings a whole nother level of fun into these kind of celebrations that I guess this group of people probably didn't grow up with.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad. I think that it's uh, you know this is an overall thought, about Judaism in general, which is that uh, one thing that we've begun to understand, I think, as in the Jewish communal world, is that um, uh, we have to be able to um, uh, or I'll put it this way. Years ago, people didn't necessarily feel the need to market Judaism, right? and I'm not talking about, doing so to people who aren't Jewish, but to people who are, right? There was no real expectation that we had to um, sell Jews on the idea that it's good and fun to celebrate the religion. The idea was that, well, you're Jewish, that's what you do, and end of story. And so that's what happens. Um, I think our modern outlook, we have a lot of competitors, if you will. And by competitors, I don't mean like we're trying to be better than anybody else, but I'm saying like in terms of there are a lot of different things competing for our time. Way more, I think, than there used to be. There are many things competing for our attention. Um, so to try to convey the idea of, okay, well, we need to do, we need to observe observe the religion. Um, uh, it can be very easy for people to say, okay, if I find it interesting, sure. If I don't find it interesting, I got a lot of other things in this world that I find interesting, so I'm gonna do that instead. Um, uh, we have so many different, I mean, the amount of ways that we have to take up our time have like the amount of ways that they have grown exponentially. So it is up to us, it's up to, and certainly up to Jewish professionals, and devoted Jewish volunteers as well, to bring out that which is most appealing about our tradition, and to find ways to make those aspects of it as appealing as possible. Um, so yeah, it's just it's no longer this thought of like, okay, like this you're gonna Judaism is gonna be a big part of your life, and that's just what happens. Society thinks differently today, and I don't say that as necessarily as a negative thing, but we do have to accept that, and we do have to try to um, celebrate and appreciate what is most enjoyable about being Jewish. All right. Well, I hope that's a good thought to end on. And I wish everyone a happy Passover. The a phrase that we use in Yiddish is wishing everybody a Zissen Pesach, meaning like a sweet Passover. Um, the first time I heard, by the way, somebody wished me a Zissen Pesach, I thought they were wishing me a decent Pesach. And I remember thinking to myself, I mean, I want to be better than decent if I can, but a Zissen Pesach, a happy Passover, a Chag Sameach, a happy holiday. Um, and I hope that you will take part in a Seder in one way or another. And again, um, uh, please do feel free if you want on 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday nights. If you'd like to join me on Zoom, where we can do a relatively efficient but hopefully an enjoyable uh, Seder remotely, you're cordially invited. So we'll see you soon.
Rabbi.